And now we are live, as I just finally figure out my bearings on this one. Good evening, everyone. Welcome aboard to WOR and the Legacy Division. This is the final round of this championship. Welcome aboard to round number 24 of what has been an absolutely magnificent championship here in Abu Dhabi. Thank you very much for being alongside us. It is myself, Jota, alongside Joseph, your usual co-commentary pairing for this event. Joseph, what a season it has been. We crowned champions last time out in Saudi Arabia, but now we take a trip over to Abu Dhabi to wrap this championship up and find out who our third place player is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, Jota. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to reiterate my congratulations to the Shazoo Cedars Igniters for their championship victory last time out in Saudi Arabia. Even after a penalty that we will discuss very shortly, there was still nowhere near enough points to be able to overturn such the massive lead that they had. Third place to be decided tonight, and of course, third place, an extra 50 quid more than fourth place, which is an extra 50 quid more than fifth place. So plenty of money still on the line.
Yeah, and of course, not just that as well, but make note of the fact that you've also got the potential that is, of also automatically qualifying for any future events as well. So depending on what the administrators decide later down the line, third place could be automatic. We'll have obviously figure that one out later down the line. Either way, it's a critical position. You see down at the bottom, we'll be keeping very close tabs on the qualifying for, well, the qualifying rather, and the main race, of course, to find out who's going to be finishing in P3. There's a 30-point deficit between FRT and Ventauri. AMR tucked in behind 64 points behind FRT and 34 points behind Ventauri. So still very much up for grabs on who could finish P3 in this standing. So obviously we'll keep tabs on that one. We're just keeping an eye out on Silo at the moment. He is fastest of everyone so far. And you know what? What a season it has been for him as well, of course, flitting between two of the big teams, then finishing up at SCI. Now, as a champion as well, of course, he is part of the championship winning team now. 3-time world champions are SCI. So the question on everyone's lips is what is going to be next for a man of his caliber?
Yeah, you never really know with Silo, do you? But one thing's for certain, I don't think it will quite be eligible for one of the individual prizes that go along with the, of course, winning the team's championship. It's going to come into the pit lane here, second in this session at the moment behind the absolutely rapid Alex Loafer, who's back in action tonight for AMR, which is very exciting indeed. Further down, got ET8 that are qualifying ban. They submitted a late driver lineup, and maybe Silo feels absolutely zero empathy towards them. We'll soon see as this race comes on. Will 88 be able to compete from the back of the grid? Regardless, their spot in P2 has long been sealed.
Absolutely, indeed. And I think, to be fair, it's probably been well sealed for a considerable amount of time as well. You didn't think that at any point ET8 really were going to be in touching distance, just purely because, and of course we'll talk more about this, of course, as the race weekend goes on, just how much this league has basically been ET8's Achilles heel. But so far, fastest of anyone so far is actually AMR's Alex Loffner. It's a pretty critical set of events, of course, for AMR in this championship. 262 points in down in P5, so opportunity to potentially climb up to P4, maybe put a challenge on FRT. FRT doing decent by fielding Quantum tonight. He's in P3 overall, but his teammate down in P8, FRT Dan, another one of the more consistent runners. And then, of course, you've got to look at the likes of AMR, as I said, Alex Loffer leading the way, and then Claudio Diaz himself down in P12 for them. And then Ventauri, featuring in the Red Bulls, of course, Nico leading the way in P5. His teammate, Lars, is actually down in P13, so it is very much a question, really, of driver A, driver B at the moment out there. But one thing to make note of as well is, of course, SCI have decided to do a little bit of a switch out tonight as well, as we take a very quick look at the drivers for this particular event. And it is made pretty clear here for those runners, especially in the Mercedes, as we welcome none other than Bobberts to WR Legacy as a driver. What a way to sign off his career.
Yeah, for the first and last time, which is quite an unbelievable thing to say, but he's been racing in the F1 League racing scene for, I can't remember what he said, I think it's the best part of 12, 13 years, you know, when the games were actually good a long time ago. But honestly, a man that I have met in person is an absolute character. He's funny, and he's also very quick. So this is going to be quite a heroic farewell for him, everything he's done in the competitive scene. But he's not going anywhere. He'll still be back on the mic here and there. You know, he has been covering me various times this season, and Finn to have this opportunity. Because SCI have been so good, they can afford to put Bobbits in the car, let him have a run around, and let him say goodbye.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to be. Microphone just went. There we go. Microphone's back. I was just saying, like, look, the bottom line is that it's been such a pleasure to commentate over his races and have him in the commentary box as well. So it's always going to be a pleasure to say his name one last time as ESV Bobbits, of course, before he decides to bail out on this one as well. And what a career it has been. So big thank you to him for getting involved. Big thank you to SCI as well for chucking him in as well. It's always a pleasure to see his name on that left-hand side of the screen. We're just following Lucas at the moment, TF10. Well, a bit of a weird season for them, hasn't it? We'd have expected them to qualify. I think we all said, didn't we, at the beginning of the season, during the qualifiers, that they'd qualify. They didn't. And, of course, have taken the keys out of Hat-Trick Racing for Aston Martin to complete the rest of the season. What an up and down season it's been for them. They've got a race win to their name, but at the same time, really up and down.
Yeah, I mean, they were well memed, I think, after those qualifiers, but since then they have silenced an awful lot of critics. 7 races, 2 race wins, of course, promoted for the second time with Snack after last week's race in Saudi Arabia. Honestly, a really, really consistent midfield outfit, and to get those couple of wins as well to go with it, really a testament of what they can do and what they should really consistently be doing more often. Had so many fluctuations over the years, but still an ever-present, and actually good to see them on the top step of the podium in 2 of the last 3 rounds. Can they make it a 3rd race win tonight? Of course, the Stylers had a really strong start to this Q1 session. He's up in P4. We've got Lucas that's running slightly out of sync to the rest of the cars. Rounded the final corner now, straightening up the wheel and crossing the line to go 3rd. Yeah, encouraging indeed.
Really encouraging indeed as well. Let's follow on with Bobbits as well as look at this one in typical fashion. Now, you may have to just quickly head onto the live stream here. Once again, we have no front nose cone whatsoever on Bobbits' car, and that is a just class way, isn't it, to just see Bobbits out. They've decided to have the Shizou Cedar Igniters to only give him half a car in this one as well, and there it is, as you can see, going on board. Look at that, absolutely no front wing whatsoever, no nose cone on that car whatsoever as well. This is a common, now more common bug. We saw this last time out, I think, in Japan, with this exact scenario happening with an SCR driver. It's happened again here, and of course it's happened to who else but Bobbits in this event. He is looking to try and get himself out of the top 15 though, in all seriousness. It's checkered flag is now waving at the end of Q1. He needs to get himself, or find himself, at least 5 or 6 tenths if he can help it, but by the looks of things he is on a slow lap now. So absolutely no indication of any improvements from him. So it's all going to be about, oh, look at this one. We've also got a problem with Williams. Williams have also got a missing nose cone as well. Here's Gergo. This is the driver at QRT, looking to try and get himself up there as well. But you can see a very weird looking car out there as he navigates around this circuit. Let's be perfectly candid, as we've just lost Bobbits, unfortunately. This one, I think Schumacher. Was it Schumacher? I'm not entirely sure, actually. All we know is that we've lost Bobbits down to 17th. Now make that 18th, as it looks like Gergo's just gone to P10. Actually, it looks like everyone is missing their front nose cone. Very peculiar.
Well, this is working for me for once. I've not had anybody with an issue yet. Claudio is through by default. He didn't need to improve. Neither does Schumacher, who is just crawling back into the pit lane now as well. And of course, with 2 qualifying bands, Q1 is also always bound to be a little bit anticlimactic. Also losing Bobbits and Goltzu for QRT, and also RST's Raphael, and that number at the end of his name will be said quite a lot, because that is the number of our hotspot of overtaking this evening, the turn 6 and 7 chicane. I know you're not allowed to say it because it's been used in factual terms for the chicane. I just thought I'd add that in there before the chat goes somewhat crazy.
Just keeping an eye out as well. It looks like Haas and Red Bull have still got their front nose cones, by the way. So IRT and VNT are probably going to be the fastest out there at the moment. But critically, as I said, we're missing nose cones for these, the Williams cars. In fact, no, Williams has now come back on. Galtu's got his front wing. I don't know what's going on. Something's clearly not quite right with the game. Either way, that is the end of Q1 in this session. Of course, both of the ET8 drivers serving their qualifying ban here tonight, so they will be down at the back in 19th and 20th place, respectively. Those that were knocked out, though, of course, you've lost Bobberts. He's down at the back on 22.7. You've lost Galt as well. He's out of line, really, to be honest with you, with QRT. And then you've got that other guy, RSC. He's 22.3. I'll be perfectly honest with you. The name needn't be said. At the top, though, Alex Loffer looking very quick indeed for AMR, trying to give everything they can to be potentially a person looking for P3 in the standings. Speaking of which, let's take a quick look at those standings going into this one. Nothing can beat the Shizou Cedar Igniters now going into round number 15. They are the champions of this championship, so they will finish at the top. ET8 will finish second overall, but that battle for P3 very much up for grabs. FRT in third with Ventari fourth and AMR in fifth on 262. IRT, great season from the OGs themselves as well. That's a decent effort of 198. Could breach 200 tonight. RSC on 173. Close for Team TF10 on 162. And then EVR on 153. So it's a very tight-knit battle in that midfield.
Yeah, and VNT can count their lucky stars that they aren't trailing by more points for P3. Just last night, Fanis Spinoda got a 3-second time penalty overturned to no further action to go on top of the 5-second penalty given to Ventari's Max. So almost both drivers having a penalty, just the one fortunately, and they can have a genuine crack at getting P3 tonight. But Quantum is in astonishing form in the last 4 console tier 1 races. He's finished up in the points. FRT Dan, always a driver that can deliver some big points finishes as well. So I think they'll have a hard time of snatching that P3 back. I'd also suggest that they don't quite deserve it ever since Baku. Again, just look a complete shadow of that solid third-place team that we saw before that round.
Yeah, quick question about what happened to them as well. Leave that to your comments in the chat later down the line. Here is the race results. As said last time out, with Snack leading the way for TF10, then SCI, Dirk and Valakongan rounding out a second and third place to make them the champions of this one. David had a great race for FRT to go P4, but his teammate nowhere to be seen. ET8 finishing in 12th place and 5th place respectively. Absolute trash of a race for them in the end, which I think is just the epitomising issue of their season. And a quick reminder of the drivers here tonight as well: Dan, Quantum, Raphael, Ben, Nico, Lars, Silo, Bobberts, Astala, Lucas, Matteo and Azim, both serving qualifying bans. Seb and Frank, Alex Loffer, Claudio, Gergo, Galt, and then Schumacher and Kevin, of course, rounding out those people in the EVR. So we go back to the live stream now as we just keep an eye out on people now with their front wings, and it looks like the leading driver, the person who's going to get us going, as we go with Joseph here to take us a lap around Abu Dhabi with Kevin Zunberg.
Let's do it. They've seen it quite a lot over the course of this weekend, slightly wide of the Turn 1 apex, and having to get out the throttle there, Kevin. I think he might really scrub set of tyres and not quite at the full potential of his car. Flat down Turn 2 and Turn 3, now into Turn 4, braking at the start of the curb, a flick left, just missing the apex there ever so slightly, but straightens up the car well for the long run down in towards Turn 6. You hear the term lose a lane on the right hand side, you sort of do. The brake marker boards have already been destroyed. You kind of use those 2 white lines that form the curb there as train tracks to guide your braking points for the Turn 6 and 7 chicane. Again, hugging the inside wall, that's Turn 8, the little kink. And Turn 9, we saw some spectacular overtakes, it must be said. Notably, Piastri on Norris on lap 1 of the Grand Prix on Sunday. Again, hugging the apex and losing the back end in traditional commentator flying lap style. We've seen a car either invalidate or spin. Kevin's done the latter there. And yeah,
continuing with Gergo though, as he's going underneath the building.
The hotel. We've picked it up at the infamous Williams corner. Now through the penultimate corner. Reprofile Turn 15. That's now flat out. Nothing really much to add on that one. A bit of a kick out of the back end through the final corner. There's a lap on the board. It's like nothing ever happened. A 122.8 smashed by Silo. A 122.0. He got through with 1 lap in Q1. Nico crosses the line, does about the same as Gergo. Quantum crosses the line, does about the same as Silo. Just 2,000ths in it.
Yeah, absolutely blistering quick. And I'll be honest with you as well. I am very tired in this particular event here tonight, so I completely forgot the word hotel in this one. So it's just like, building.
Building.
As we're just going through the final couple of corners at turn number 15 now is this Racing Bull. This is Alex Loffer, of course, fastest in Q1. Is he going to be anywhere near Quantum's time? 22.09 is what he's looking for. 21.8 out of the blocks here. And AMR really are giving it a good go with him here tonight to try and capitalise, maybe not on P3, but rather on the, let's be honest, deteriorating form that is Ventari and P4 at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got one pole position to their name so far this season. Strong opportunity to make it 2 tonight. And indeed, they would love a third race win of the season. I think that would take them to second in the winners' tally this evening. Amazingly, ET8 have only got one. FRT just the one themselves, as have VNT, of course, that race in Baku. TF10 and AMR, the two teams on 2 wins. So, yeah, look out for that non-championship battle this evening. Alex Loeffler clear by about 700ths of a second. We've got Lars Kramer on the back straight. He's harvesting. I believe he may have invalidated his first run in this session.
Could have indeed. So we have not got that much time actually left in this event here, as the people are just starting to go a little bit out of sync. As we said, Ward's a little bit out of sync, Lucas also out of sync as well. So interested to see what RSC are going to bring to the table as well. They've got their own little battle in this championship, of course. Remember, they are in that tight battle for P6 at the moment with the likes of IRT. 198 players, 173 players, 162 players, 153 between IRT, RSC, TF10 and EVR in that battle for P6. So ideally, they could do doing the best that they can in this event, because of course they could end up climbing 1, maybe even 2 positions. Could these teams out here tonight, as he heads now into turn 1, does Wards with a point to prove. The former TF10 man now racing in the Scarlet Ferrari that is the RSC team, chucking the car through the right-hander then of turn number 3, heading down 4 and then into this hairpin of turn 5. You want to go as late as you possibly can, chucks the car through the left-hander, missing his apex ever so slightly, but can get on the power as early as he possibly can as he heads down the back straight with that DRS now opening heading towards turn number 6.
Yeah, indeed, and watch his breaking point here again. No boards, because, of course, the drivers would like to use that extra bit of track. That's usually agreed upon. You know, you don't really see any discussion about it anymore. It's every time you come to Abu Dhabi, those brake marker boards are going to be smashed. And that often does come with potentially a few late braking collisions in the race. Look out for that. Just after the 50-meter board, loads of inside curb there for the first part of turn 9, keeping the rear in check this time as well. Into the hotel section, braking hard for turn number 12. Tight corner there, and then they've opened up all of these, give themselves a little bit of an off-camber sequence, help the car through and carry more speed than you used to be able to. Braking as the edge of the kind of double line curb there. That's your turning point for the final corner, and Wards goes up into P2, just 7 thousandths off Alex Loeffler at the minute. Again, seeing that such close grid again as we come to the end of the season. The skill gaps have properly shrank. This is a wide open qualifying session. Really, main man is SCI Silo. Can he respond?
Yes, certainly can he as well. Now, I beg to make the point that I think Wards might have been on a new set of soft tyres here versus Alex Loeffler, who might have been on an old set. So I think there's definitely more time available in that Racing Bull. We'll have to see. Following Schumacher at the moment here. This is the EVR man as well after... Well, let's look back. I think on the last race that he took part in WR Legacy, I believe was Japan, wasn't it? If it wasn't Japan, that was probably the most poignant incident, of course, at the hairpin, where he absolutely sent it on the inside, missing his braking zone entirely. And where was Bro going?
It was parallel to the corner, wasn't it? It was a good little chuckle when we saw the loads of different onboards came out after that one, but it's just Schumacher all over, isn't it? But you have to say he's been a really important part of this EVR lineup, and you know, you have to say they've improved race by race to get to podium and even front rank positions. Up impeding on the apex. That might be TF10 Wards in a bit of trouble. Now, would that be converted to a time penalty? I'm going to get the rule book up on that.
I'll let you do your research on that one and say that was probably definitely an impediment there from the Ferrari man, but Schumacher absolutely sending it down the corner regardless. I've got to give at least some credit here to Schumacher though, because of course he has been on the forefront of a lot of criticism, hasn't he, over the last few years in this particular medium. But I think with this particular team, if we even exclude the incident that happened in Japan, he has been driving with a real sense of maturity over the last few years, and especially in this game cycle, it's actually starting to pay some dividends for him. So he's still looking pretty quick as Silo comes across the line, finds 3/10 on Alex Loffer, puts himself into the 21.5s. Alex Loffer just now approaching the Sector 1 split. What's the split looking like? 87,000 up in the first sector, a 16.8.
Gergo sets the exact same time there as TF10 Wards. Alex Lofer about a 10th up in the first sector. Quantum has just finished his lap, and that's a 22 dead for him. Just having a look at the rulebook, rule 14.18 of the Season 6 driver rulebook says that qualifying bans received at the final race will convert to their respective time penalty. Now, if that was to be a qualifying ban, which would be the most likely punishment, I mean, they were just millimetres away from both being out of this session, then yes, that probably would be a qualifying ban. But we'll see what EVR have to say about that one, considering they are rivals in their championship positions.
Yeah, 20 points separating the pair of them at the moment. RSC on 173 in 7th and EVR on 153 in 9th. So EVR could throw every sort of situation, every element of the rule book directly at the stewards about that scenario to try and play a very, very political game as we get towards the end of this season, as Alex Loffer goes fastest.
Whoa.
And look at that lap time. Absolutely delicious. 21.2.
Estala 2/10 beyond that then in P2. Nico did a 21.56 on that one. FRT Dan also harvesting, he did a 21.6 as well. I think we're awaiting, I think that's it in terms of our front runners. Everybody in the top 10 has already completed their lap times. Anybody else is out of sync in getting back into the pit lane. And that's about it for our second runs in the session. The Q1 cut-off was around about a 22.0. That's the point where we started to see drivers retire. I dare suggest we've taken about half a second off of that in the second part of qualifying.
I would like to say as well that I think everyone from I'm going to say P5 upwards probably are going to feel a bit more comfortable at the moment and may retire, but the fact is you've got 21.838 twice through Wards and Gergo. They're probably going to want to give it another go. Lucas is immediately giving it another go, well out of sync with everyone else. He's just approaching turn number 5 now as the Aston Martin Mercedes. And TF10, remember, in their own scrap in the championship again, in 8th place, splitting RSC and EVR on 162. They have only took part actually in how many rounds? They started in round 8, I believe. Which means that they've only been part of 7 rounds in this championship, and they're on 162. They've beaten QRT and EVR as it stands, but they've got to try and close down the gap on RSC, and as it stands so far, Lucas looking relatively decent to get close, potentially, to the likes of Wards, but his teammate Astala, second fastest. What an opportunity for TF10.
Yeah, extrapolate their points scored so far this season. Them 7 rounds that they didn't do, 7 rounds that they have done. So you're basically doubling their points tally if they were to have had this roster throughout the entire season. That's 324 points. They would be 2 points behind FRT. Of course, you'd have to change FRT's results and whatnot, but just for the sake of what I'm saying, assume they're about 2 points behind FRT. And yeah, very much are going to be the interrupting team, I think, in this P3 fight this evening. So it feels only fitting they're going to get involved, hopefully, with a double appearance in the final part of qualifying. Lucas is taking us away for the final runs of this session, clipping the inside apex areas wide, and that's going to be invalid. Get that battery harvested. Have you got the fuel to go again, Lucas? Because if not, you're looking very much at risk.
Yeah, not a very good turn one at all. Just spits the car out completely wide, and that ends that any chance really of a improving lap on that one. But he has got time to get round again. And you mentioned there as well that the form at the moment of TF10 would have put them in around P3, P4 in the standings. Would have just begged the question of who, another team, that's 4 teams, could have been out fighting for P3 in the standings, but TF10 team didn't qualify, and that is the penalty effectively that they get for not being the 7th fastest team in qualifying, because of course that meant that they were nowhere near in a position to, dictate exactly what points they could get until round 8, when of course the late Hadrick, I will say late and great, but we'll say the late Hadrick Racing departed from the esports sphere, as we're just following Quantum for FRT, who are looking to try and solidify this P3 result. His teammate FRT Dan up in P5. There's definitely more time on the table for Quantum.
Absolutely, and for a name like TF10, of course, not qualifying was always going to be considered a failure, but again, certainly they've corrected all of those wrongs from our qualifying night. Quantum then heading towards the Sector 2 split, notably going to the derating point on the battery, finding almost 0.3 of a second is the Brit, and rounding turn number 9 with absolute aplomb into turn number 12 now, heavy braking zone. Let the car just roll into the corner, hug that inside line. Oh, just risk of running a little bit wide there, taking too much inside curb. Now rounding the penultimate corner at turn 15, completely flat out, hold it in 6th gear, use some of the battery to give that extra mile an hour or 2 more. Quantum round the final corner and crossing the line. He should be safely through up there in P4. Can his teammate join him though? That's going to be the big demand from Quantum to give him that encouragement. Next across the line comes Wards, and he stays 7th fastest, so I think he's very much at risk here.
Yeah, improved on his lap, but no on his position, so stays P7 overall. Lucas looking to try and improve. Seeb is going to be up there alongside his teammate Franek, who is looking to try and get both of their teams, IRT, through into Q3. It's important for them as well, because they've got their battle for P6 in the standings. Franek goes P7, and then Seeb goes P6. A great effort. Franek was P7, now down to P8 as a result. Dan looking to try and improve if he can help it. He is up in the second sector by just under half a tenth, which will find him, in the ballpark maybe of around about Nico's pace, because his first sector split was about the same, around about half a tenth. We'll see then as he comes across the final corner. Then here's turn number 16, chucks the car through this right-hander, and he'll come across the line. Will the McLaren Mercedes to go P6 overall, just behind Nico in the end by about what's that one? I made that less than less than 100th of a second separating them. Ward's looking to try and improve, but he's 2 seconds back. No improvement here as Lars is trying to get on with his lap, and guess what? Again, Wards is blocking people, and that is causing massive headaches for RSC in their championship. Remember, 173 points in P7, and now they've got 2 impediment issues as VNT Lars has been knocked out of qualifying as a result.
The first one was touch and go, of course, because Wards was on the right-hand side. He was just crawling around that penultimate corner, trying to get into the pit lane. But that's the second time he's been out of fuel, plodding about the circuit, and through either a lack of communication or a lack of awareness on the driver's end, he's impeded 2 cars, and that is the fact from this session. Maybe it could be converted into a grid penalty. I don't know the restart procedure in particular for this race. Could well just be, talking 10-20 second penalty for the race here. So he's basically ruined his shot at points already.
Yeah, he's ruined his shot at points, and he's ruined the qualifying of 2 people, both of them knocked out of qualifying. Schumacher, of course, knocked out alongside Lars, and remember, Lars is in that close battle for P3 for FRT as well, so that will be very critical for Ventauri as well. And of course, EVR down in P9, they're 20 points behind the Scuderia Ferrari, so very much playing up in the middle of the championship there, Wards, with his very clumsy situation out there. But at the top, no clumsiness at all from Alex Loffer. Again, fastest in Q2, in front of Astala, then Silo, Quantum, and Nico rounding out the top 5. So it gives us a quick opportunity once again to look at the standings then, or rather the drivers actually, before we get into that, because look, this is very clumsy there from the likes of Ben in that one. And I think Ward's, he's better than that. He knows he's better than that. What are RSC doing at the moment? Are they just acting? Are they checked out? Have they checked out of this, season now? Or is it just a little bit of clumsiness?
Don't know. I mean, he's speaking about it in the paddock chat at the moment. He's sort of laughing and joking about it. he said "my bad, guys," maybe sarcastically, but an apology to the two teams you've very much interrupted in that session would probably go a long way. I don't know, but yeah, RSC. I mean, I think they checked out quite a while ago. To be honest, they came in with a really strong roster this season, but have cycled through quite a few more replacements than the other teams. Maybe that's a factor. Maybe they've got the mentality in the drivers' camp that we're just turning up to race the Legacy division rather than turning up to be a team and extract the most points that they can out of this season. Because yeah, they got 2 podiums as of late, but maybe there is a bit more of an ego on the driver's side.
Yeah, critical stuff, that one, isn't it, at the end of the day? So I'm sure there will be some questions on that one. I'm going to very quickly, if you don't mind, whilst we're just waiting on the first laps to come into play, as it looks like the polystyrene ball is getting absolutely pasted in the background, by the way. It gives us an opportunity, if you don't mind, I actually want to take a look at the predictions that we put in a while ago here, Joseph. So you wouldn't believe that we all said ET8 would win this championship and the Shizou Cedar Igniters would finish second. Luke said second. You said third, with Hadrick second.
Can we take that off the screen if it's still on?
All right,
don't want to see that.
Tell you what, fine. We'll go back to that in a bit then, why don't we? Let's have a look at that one. I'm equally as bad, to be fair. We made some pretty naff predictions. We'll look into that one maybe in the interim between qualifying and so on. Curiously, Gergo straight into the pits. He's not continuing after that outlap, and he will dive straight into the pit lane. So the next person, or the first person to set a lap, will be, would you believe, Wards. And by the looks of things, it looks like all the drivers are giving him around about a sector to play with to make sure they doesn't impede anyone in Q3.
Yeah, I think they've got the menu screens on at the minute that shows the track map, and well, they're just trying to not be on the same piece of tarmac as him, as he pretty much said there. I mean, rightly so. Twice is a concerning lack of awareness, as I've touched upon already, but Wards, he does have pace. He's in Q3 for a reason, and now is just going to give it everything to get himself as high up the grid as possible. If we are talking a 20-second time penalty, which is possible for this race, and yes, those teams have both complained already, and with their championship position, yes, they will take it to the stewards. So, again, he's playing with fire already. Can't afford to do anything else that's daft in this session. Just go out there now, put in a good lap.
Yes, that's what it is now, isn't it? Now, nobody around the circuit can interrupt here, Wards, but if all 9 drivers wanted to box him in, they probably could do in this one as he now approaches turn number 1, TF10, former TF10 Wards, rather. Now, obviously, RSC in the Scuderia Ferrari approaching through, then up the hill as he takes the right-hander of turn number 3, and then turn number 4 before you get to the hairpin of 5. Now, very much open, for interpretation about what will happen with Wards in this one. Will he receive that time penalty and for the race, or will he end up moving over, to a grid penalty? Will the stewards make an early decision? I don't know. We'll know more about that one later down the line. But if it is going to be a time penalty, he's absolutely wrecked his chances of getting anywhere near the top 10 as a result of this one. But I want to also offer a little bit of a controversial stance on this one as well, Joseph. It's up to you. You think I'm just talking a load of smack, if I'm waffling, if you will, on this one. But Wards qualified P9 overall at the end of Q2. If he didn't impede Schumacher, you could argue that Schumacher had more time on the table, could have qualified. And of course, Ventauri's Lars, nowhere near the pace that he was in that particular corner, and he was blocked as well. So you could argue that the pair of them could have ended up knocking out Wards and he would have started P11.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they will make that argument that Schumacher did have to take slight avoiding action. That ruined his first or second lap in that session. And then, yeah, with Venturi, that was an entire sector worth of time lost, and we'll never know the true pace on that one. So, yeah, absolutely. They both can feel very, very aggrieved that they didn't really have a chance of taking part in this session. Wards is the pace setter, but he needs well over a second more in lap time to challenge pole position here this evening. Of course, some drivers might be out there on a fresh set of tough soft tyres already. We've had a McLaren cross the line. I think that was Quantum to start a lap, and Franek goes 2 cents quicker. So again, indicating a scrub set on that one. But yeah, the pole time here this evening is going to be a low 21. by which superstar driver is it going to be? Will it be Silo who crosses the line? There's your low 21.
Yeah, looking very good indeed as well. Quantum, by the way, actually invalidated. You may have heard me grunt a little bit. He ended up invalidating at turn number 14, I believe, a track extension at turn number 14, otherwise known as the Latifi corner. He ended up, invalidating his lap there, and it would have been a 21.8. So he would have put himself P2 as a result of that one, and he's invalidated his next attempt as well, but I don't believe it would have been anywhere near the pace as Alex Loffer comes across the line. 21.1, looking sharp indeed. We've got other laps coming in as well. I believe Gergo will be the next person to set some kind of representative lap. He's just approaching turn number 9 at the moment, looking to try and at least get himself within the ballpark, losing the rear, but very well caught there from Gergo. The QRT driver not looking comfortable through turn 9.
Yeah, that was very well caught, just immediately trying to correct the slide, and he did so, and probably only shaved about a tenth off of this lap time at the moment. Lofty heights in that Q2 session as he rounds the very, very challenging hotel section. That was turn 14 onto 15 now, and then braking for turn 16. A couple of jabs at the wheel to get the nose in there, and that's an unusually unsettled car, I should say. MS GoGo goes up to P4. FRT Dan does get into the 1:21s, and if that is a use set, that's very impressive indeed, because we know he has more time than that on the table, doing a 21.5, 21.6, I think it was, in the second part of qualifying. The final car to get something, or rather nothing in Quantum's case, on the board is going to be Nico, and he's 1 against 2 in terms of Ventari versus FRT in this session. Of course, AMR a little bit further back than FRT, so Ventari might also be looking over their shoulders. They've got a car on provisional pole at the moment. Nico crosses the line. That's a darn good effort. 21.5. Yes,
a very good effort indeed. Puts himself within the ballpark as well of the second row, and with that 21.504, finding himself 3/10 in front of FRT Dan, who will be on third row of the grid in P5. Quantum yet to set a lap at the moment, but once again, in what is tradition at this point, Alex Loffer fastest at the end of the first set of runs in Q3. 4 minutes and 20 seconds to go in this one. Nice, we should be in for an absolute cracker, I would say, of a qualifying session here, because I do believe these lap times are going to come tumbling. Here's a question for you. Alex Loffer, does he have a high 20 in him?
Oh, I wouldn't put it past him, you know. I can't remember the last time I've seen a 20 Abu Dhabi. I mean, this is probably only my first or second race covering at this track, but yeah, really, really elusive lap time that the drivers are all going to be chasing, but certainly Alex Loffer looking the most likely this evening. 3 minutes 40 on the clock. Let's go quickly. Q3 sessions, 1 lap, back into the pits, and then back out again within the final 3 minutes or so. It's exciting now. I think Alex Loffer has this one in the bag, but again, this P2 is a total toss-up, because you sense Silo as the only protagonist in this session, driver of the championship winning team. No ET8, of course, there at the back. You know, is this more of a P2 race than anything?
One has a sneaky suspicion FRT have sent Quantum out early, and they have done exactly that. They're not comfortable that Quantum is going to be able to set a lap under pressure. And of course FRT, they've still got everything to race for here. Of course, they've got P3 in the standings. They are 30 points in front of Ventario, have had an absolute stinker in terms of qualifying, albeit because of a situation with an RSC driver. And of course AMR at the moment are looking very quick with Alex Loffer at the front of the field, but the second driver not making it through to Q3. So it may not be, it's a very Lando Norris situation, isn't it? Doesn't have to go all out pace. They don't have to be the fastest, but as long as they're consistent and in the ballpark, they'll keep P3, no issue. And then, you know, taking a really classy result in this championship and their highest finish in WR Legacy.
Yeah, a really historic moment for them. Just in the paddock chat at the minute, had some onboards sent in regarding TF10 Wards. He was fully in control for both of the impeding incidents. Schumacher did come up really quickly, of course, with the closing speed at turn 15 on the first one, but the second one, he impedes him from turn 9. There's an arrow behind at all times. It's like he's pushing the car through, and of course, he's close enough to be generating dirty air for the Red Bull. He just doesn't yield. It genuinely, it's like he realises last second that he's had a car behind him for the best part of 20 seconds. It's such an unusual incident that it almost looks deliberate, the way he was just pushing and staying in front of a car that he had full visibility and awareness of with the proximity arrow that was on the screen. But we'll talk more about that in the interval between the qualifying and the race. We've got all 10 cars on an outlap. It'll be Quantum to take us away, and hopefully nothing controversial here.
Yes, it would be bitterly disappointing if that was the scenario, but I just think it's just an era of clumsiness, I think, from the likes of Wards, and we'll see what the stewards will think, because I think they'll definitely take a very dim view on those incidents. Going through turn 1, then Quantum, track extending, no, just kept it on the white line. Going through turn 1, here he is at turn 3, keep that car over the curb, look at the right hand side. Again, the car on the rear just looking like it's a little bit lighter on the rear, 16.9 in the first sector. It's not blisteringly quick, but it's in the ballpark.
Indeed it is. 25 seconds in on the clock, then DRS open for Quantum. And again, look how he hugs that right-hand side of the track. It's unusual because he ends up turning the wheel, whereas he could have just kept it in a straight line for the braking zone. He misses the apex ever so slightly, holding second gear. You are in between gears there for turn number 7. Very, very difficult traction zone. We'll see some pretty effective switchbacks when it comes to the race. 51.4 in the middle sector. It says purple on the screen, but that's probably up against his personal best all throughout qualifying this evening. That means he's firmly in contention to put it, hopefully, in or around the top 5. That will be the ideal for FRT, a team that have had a car in the top 10 in the results for our main races all season long.
Yeah, losing the rear ever so slightly, and car starting to slide as the tyres begin to scream at him, overheating, but he'll come across the line right now, and he'll go P3. Checker flag now waving. Here comes Wards. He goes to P5, 21.4. We have one of the IRTs coming across the line, Franek. He goes P4. Great effort from him. Sieb comes across the line. Where's he going to go? P8 overall as well. Franek has out-qualified him. Decent effort indeed from them. Other people coming across the line. Silo, is he going to be able to get anywhere near Alex Loffer's time as he comes across the line right now? No, he's been beaten. 1:21.190. It is all going to be about that lap time from Alex Loffer. He's found 51 thousandths of a second in the second sector alone. He could be knocking on the door of the 20.9s. We'll see though. Will the Racing Bull, will AMR Esports get themselves into the pole position through Alex Loffer, because he's been absolutely fabulous in this season. He's going to take it all the way now. Final corner at turn number 16. Is it going to be a 20.9?
Yeah.
Oh, it certainly will. Fabulous stuff from Alex Loffer to get into the 1:20s. He'll be absolutely happy. He'll be beyond happy with that result. FRT Dan, where's he going to go? P5. Great effort from FRT to go 3rd and 5th respectively. It will be a 3rd row and a 2nd row finish. Oh, I think they may have been knocked down actually by another person. FRT Dan will start P6. Final result, Alex Loffer. That is one hell of a lap time from the man at AMR Esports to go pole position, a 1:20.952.
That is outrageous, Alex. Many congratulations on that lap time. That even got a cheer. Just the way I was watching his car turn into the corners there. It's like he was using the karting tactic of really getting on the throttle before you've even finished braking to rotate that car around some of the corners. A real driving skill there. Silo's on the front row, and crucially Nico in 3rd ahead of both McLaren drivers, but they will be firmly in position to clinch P3 in this championship. Solid effort as well by IRT. Franek up in P9. Sieb also as well actually did gain quite a lot of time on that 22.8 banker, I think, as well, and that's very difficult to do. So full credit to the IRT camp for getting 2 cars up in what is sure to be an exciting fight here for not only the race victory, but for the podium as well.
Yes, absolutely. Looking like it's going to be an absolute blister as well. We're just going to get confirmation of whether there will be a restart or not. We don't think there will be. Here's a quick reminder of the race results last time out. Of course, TF10 Snack managing to take the victory from Dirk and Valakongan, David and Alex Marciano, Rafael, Otsazito, Vanna Spinoda, Galt, and then Claudia rounding out the top 10. Max, Sergio, Ben, Phil, and Knight rounding out those 15 points, which then resulted in the standings that now look like this. Shazoo Cedar Igniters are champions, 794 from ETA on 648. Future Racing Team 326, 296 for Ventauri with AMR Esports on 262, IRT on 198, RSC on 173, TF10 on 162, and EVR on 153. Quest Racing Team rounding out those the teams rather, that still taking part in this championship down on 101. So very much still open and up up for grabs here in this one. We'll get full confirmation of the situation in terms, but there's no restarts planned, so it looks like we're getting straight into the mix here, Joseph. We're rounding out this championship here with a few little controversial situations in that qualifier.
Yeah, mainly wards, isn't it? Again, no formal apology, which is unusual when two incidents they are very much at fault for, but always catching me out is how quickly the lights come on here in Abu Dhabi. Just having a look at the tyres, looks like it's going to be a medium hard sort of race with nobody changing onto the white wall compound just yet. Pretty standard in terms of strategy that we see on the F1 game, an epitome of what we've seen all season. We're about to go racing for our season finale, and what a season it's been.
Can I be honest with you as well here, Joseph? Those conditions are looking a little bit overcast out there as well. Are we going to see some rain in the desert as well, I wonder? We'll keep an eye out on that one, but the full expectation is that this will end up being a 1 or a 2-stop race. We've seen a few people think that 2-stop is probably the better strategy on this one, but few people have elected to do the 1-stop in my history of this particular circuit, so we'll see what the drivers decide. We are expecting the race to get going in just a few short moments. Joseph, I'll hand it over to you very briefly over this one to just quickly round off, what has been a fabulous championship in this one. FRT, are they the favourites of P3?
I think they are indeed, yeah, and another brilliant qualifying as a team, something they've had as a strength all season long. And again, I alluded to that stat at the end of qualifying. They've never had a car outside the top 10 when it comes to the races as well. That's the level of consistency they've reached, and it's been more than enough to go up to P3 in the championship in, phases that VNT have had 2 cars in the bottom 10 more often than not in the second half of the season. So, yeah, a real turnaround in terms of Ventari's form, but FRT have held that level throughout the entire season, and it's been a really good one.
Yeah, P3 overall, and 30 points in front of Ventari, and 64 in front of AMR. We'll obviously keep that graphic down at the bottom updated periodically, and we'll keep you in the loop about who is going to be the team that will finish P3 in this championship. As it stands so far, we think the favourites are definitely going to be FRT, P3 and P5 on the grid, so they'll be certainly happy with that one. We are just a few short moments away from this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. No doubt we'll be heading through into the race in just a few short moments. Let us know who your favourite is if you are watching us live here tonight, and if you aren't watching us live, where have you been? We usually take part on 7:15 every Tuesday night, but unfortunately you've left it all the way to the end because these drivers are getting ready for an Abu Dhabi Grand Prix where we're going to be wrapping up this championship. No more waiting. Let's go racing here in Abu Dhabi. Alex Loffer getting a really good start off of the back of there, and Silo getting a bit of ghosted there through there, but he's happy to hold on to P2. Quantum is up in P4, and Franek getting a really good start up into P5 in this one. Dan remaining in P6. Starla trying to close down the gap as well, as the conditions are looking extremely overcast out here as well, so I'm wondering if rain is on the cards here. Here comes Sieb down the inside of Wards. He wants to get this one done on RSC. 3 wide right in front of him, by the way, between Franek, Starla and Dan in this one, as well as their little scrap happening here for P5. Franek and Dan are still in this mix here. Late breaker potentially coming here from Dan. No, they'll continue to go side by side as they go through the turn 6 and 7 chicane. Around the outside he will go. He'll have the traction, but he'll get nudged off of the circuit by Franek. He'll hold on to the position, but they're now going 3 wide again, going through into turn number 9. This is extremely close battling happening here for this battle here for P number 5, but in the end it looks like it's just going to settle with Dan in P5, Astala in P6, and Franek in the end will have to just settle for P7.
Yeah, Dan overtaking off the track. That was the key story in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix this year. That was on Sunday. Wide goes Wards. Can he rejoin safely? And almost taking out his former TF10 comrade there in Lucas. But yeah, poor start from Wards after a disappointing qualifying in terms of etiquette, but he's back on the circuit and still pointing in the right direction. Alex Lofer leads us away for this first lap of 29, unsurprisingly so. What a launch he had to cover off the Mercedes. Yeah, I think that all stemmed, that 3 wide battle. Franek went really wide at turn number 5 on lap 1, and then of course Astala and Dan just both came up the inside, both said hello, and then we had a great run all the way up to turn 9 with all 3 of those involved in that battle. So, yeah, aggressive stuff on the lap. It's what you want to see.
Yes, indeed, as well as we've got Claudio getting in his own battle as well for P17, and this is what's causing AMR the big headaches. AMR will finish on 302 as it stands with that race victory from Alex Loffer, but with Claudio hemorrhaging positions and down in P17 overall, he's going to find himself in a real sort of rut here, down losing 6 positions. He was in P11 and would have been a good points haul for the for the AMR man, but as a result of that, one Ventauri will end up extending their lead over over the AMR team by 9 points. But as it stands so far, Future Racing Team will extend their gap on Ventauri by 9 points, and they'll finish on 366. We are just finishing our second lap of this Grand Prix. Alex Loffer still leading from the front, from Silo, from Quantum, Astala, Franek, Sieb, Gergo, and Lucas rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, indeed. Great start for ET8 in 15th and 16th. Few asking, why the hell is it so bright at the minute? It is unrealistic, we promise, because, well, we saw in qualifying what the time of day was, and it very much was dark. It's a twilight race around here in Abu Dhabi, the only of its kind on the F1 calendar, and for some reason, it would be sunset at the minute, but the game just sort of simulates that when it's cloudy, as the sky is effectively flashbanging you at the minute, instead of that orange tint that you would otherwise get at this time of the evening. So it should progressively get darker throughout the course of this race. No rain is expected according to our drivers. Your usual probability around here is 0%. It can happen on the F1 game. Oh, our lead is disconnected.
Yes, he did disconnect. We saw him hemorrhaging positions. And now Alex Loffer and AMR, this is critical for AMR in their championship hopes, because, of course, they want to try and potentially close down on Ventauri. And with one person down in P17, Alex Loffer goes from 1st to 4th to 5th. Make that 6th place, as Astala will get this move done as well. So Silo will now take the lead of this race in typical fashion for the Shazoo Cedar Igniters from Ventauri's Nico. Then Quantum and Dan for FRT. What a fabulous race this is turning out to be for the McLaren Mercedes outfit.
Yeah, it is indeed. I'm going to have to be in charge of trying to get him back in the session, but the first thing I need to do is tell him to add me. So if you can take the reins for a minute, Jota, I'll be Discord admin.
Yes, Discord admin he will become now, Will Joseph here alongside myself, Jota, for this event live at Abu Dhabi, our final race, of course, of the season in what has been a magnificent season of WR Legacy Division. Gergo is trying to close down now on Alex Loffer. This is the man at QRT looking to try and maximise the points that they can at Williams, and he now rises up to P8, and Alex Loffer now down to the middle of the pack in P10. Silo leading the way, as we said, from Nico, from Quantum and Dan, and then Astala rounding out what has been a really up and down season for TF10. A couple of wins to their name, but what a great result this will be for IRT as well in their championship hopes. Of course, they are trying their hardest to potentially capitalise on a poor performance from Ferrari, and that's RSC. The gap between them is around about 25 points, and as it stands so far, Ward's struggling down at the back in P12 as his teammate Raphael down in P17. What a situation this could end up being for IRT.
Yeah, it could be indeed. Still nothing from Alex just yet. However, IRT, we mentioned them, up in 6th and 7th at the moment. No, don't say it. They've had 3 top 5 finishes this season, but that win in Silverstone through Sieb carries so much weight, doesn't it? It's done them an absolute favour in terms of keeping them in front of RSC, TF10 and EVR at this stage. Of course, TF10 are going to be perhaps their main contender for P6. So, yeah, interesting to see kind of that sandwich effect we've got at the minute. IRT in the middle of 2 TF10 drivers. That's if Lucas can get past Gergo at the DRS train stage of this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and I can confirm everybody still on the medium tyres.
Situation report for you here then is FRT will still finish, as I said, in P3, no issues whatsoever, and 375, Ventauri 334, AMR stationary on 262, and actually I'd start looking behind them at the moment as well, because I don't think there are any risk of losing positions to IRT with a 6th and 7th place finish. But you know, if IRT suddenly come out of nowhere and produce a great result, as Alex Loffer has finally rejoined, but he's now down at the foot of the field behind Bobberts down in P19. Dan will now be having questions with Quantum here to say, can you overtake Nico, or am I the faster driver?
Alex Lofer now back in the session, as you rightly point out. This is going to be a harder last to first challenge, or last to question mark challenge, than what ET8 are pulling off here. But he's got some clean air to pull into. Might well trigger the biggest undercut of the season so far, with everybody still in this train. It's horrendous luck. I understand he's also, reading the YouTube chat, he's also had a wheel connect in WOR PC Tier 2. So, yeah, just horrendous luck on his side as of late, and it just feels like that for some drivers. When you have one issue, others start building up, and it just feels like you are just completely unable to avoid them. And if that was an internet problem, that is just something you can't avoid. We've got some gaps opening up. I think FRT might swap places here. Quantum's dropped over a second to the car in front. That's VNT Nico trying to pursue his team's second win of the season. And what a time to do it at. FRT Dan now has to take control of the two FRT drivers and not let them get away.
Yeah, but the problem is that he's struggling with ERS management, and he's actually now 1.3 seconds and losing a bucket of time to the front two. We might get in there a little scrap here. Nico might get a little bit closer, might consider a move on Silo. Maybe into turn number 12, I wonder. We'll have to see on this one here. Now FRT, and the people in the chat saying, can FRT wake up and actually switch? And that's what they've done, but in doing so, Astala has welcomed himself into this battle, and Quantum is now relegated to P5 overall. Not causing too much of a headache in terms of the championship for them, but not helpful.
No, absolutely not, especially with Mintauri's position. They've now got Lars Kramer in the top 10 as well, and of course points going down to P15. If Nico gets up into P1, then we do start asking a few questions about FRT's P3 in this championship. It's going to go right down to the wire here in Abu Dhabi this evening.
Should be an absolute cracker of an event ahead of us. Lap 7 of 29. 22 laps race in this race. 22 laps left of this particular championship as well, because of course this is our final race of the season. It gives us an opportunity while watching the race to also reminisce on what has been a fabulous season of WR Legacy, as we're just watching Astala getting closer and closer to Dan. We know Dan has been struggling with his ERS management, so the Aston Martin may sense a little bit of blood at the moment out there. The Aston Martin Aramco Mercedes trying to get as close as he can. DRS now available, could be relegated to P4 here. Could FRT Dan goes around the inside line, and that move is done and dusted. TF10 on board here for a potential back-to-back podium for the Spanish outfit. We'll be very happy indeed here, as Franek starting to get a little bit spicy with Quantum as well. The IRT man looking like he thinks that he might be a little bit quicker than Quantum at the moment, and IRT of course are sensing blood themselves, because of course they've got their own scrap in the championship for against AMR, who are at the moment are scoring just that singular point of 50, with 15th place for Claudio.
Yeah, of course, but Alex Lofer will have something to say about that one. He's already caught up to the back of the pack. We've got our first pit stop of the evening, end of lap 7 for Lars Kramer. Now, he wants to get in front, ideally, of both FRT drivers here, so they can work together as a team more effectively in this second stint. New hard tyres going on then. They've had a reprofiling for 2026, but we've still got the good old 2025 tyres that are absolutely rubbish for racing. Out he goes on this set then. Schumacher does join him in the pit lane, and that's our first activity in the pit lane. Issue for Alex Lofer. He spun around at turn 3. He was our pole sitter, he was our race leader, but this race is quickly unravelling into a nightmare.
Yeah, absolute nightmare at the moment. 2 points for AMR as it stands as well. They'll be up to 264. 6th and 7th place respectively is a decent points haul of 27 points for IRT. As we've got that little scrap happening here between Bobberts, Galt and Raphael here for RSC. Are we going to see Bobberts making an overtake? Let's go on board with him. He certainly is making an overtake here against the RSC man, and a fabulous overtake is indeed, but he's trying to go side by side here. Is Raphael with the Mercedes, the SCI man. Just losing that position once again. Wants to see a Bobberts overtake in WR Legacy Division. We got one, but he lost it immediately.
What's this? Gen Z against World War II? I mean, what a battle this is! Oh, big kick out of the rear from, I almost said the name then, Raphael for RSC. And he's lost DRS to the car in front, which is Goltzu, and he's almost parked it on the apex as he signals his intention to come into the pit lane. You do scrub off more speed, pulling to the right-hand side. He speeds in the pit lane, and we finally see no more of that name in WOR Legacy Division Season 6. Goodbye and good riddance.
Goodbye, good riddance to the name hosted by Raphael. He is out of this Grand Prix, and that is his season over and done with. And what is actually fairly critical for RSC, because of course, remember, RSC are in their own little scrap for P7 overall in the championship. They're 20, in fact, they're currently at the moment 25 points behind IRT. And that just could be fairly critical in that championship when you've got one person now deciding to relegate himself as Alex Loffer gets the move done on Boberts. Very late on the brakes, nearly caught the back end of Alex Loffer there, which had been bitterly disappointing for the SCI man. But of course, remember, it's a little bit of a swan song now for Boberts, isn't it? As he's just tried to navigate his way around this circuit, keep it clean, keep it nice and cool, nice and easy. If he can get a point or two, that will of course be very handy for SCI, who obviously want to round off this championship with over 800 points in this season. What has been an absolutely magnificent season for the Scottish outfit represented by Mercedes.
Yeah, McLaren hit over 800 points in the real thing. Of course, that was over 24 rounds with the regular FIA. Wow, that's a throwback. FIA
wow.
Scoring. You know where I had my mind there. FIA scoring system. Of course, we give out a lot more points. 40 for P1, 32 I think it is for P2. So, yeah, you can see why they've accumulated so many so quickly after another, I think it's 6 wins this season. As Lucas does get past Gergo, and they're going to hemorrhage some time here down the straight. It's an interesting position to be battling in, and they have lost DRS to the IRT duo in front of them, so that gives them a little bit more comfort. But by the end of the straight, Lucas braking late, he should be able to get back into it, and does.
Yeah, 3 wide through there as well. Kevin Zunberg up to P9 here for the team in the lean green machines, that is the Kick Sauber. Of course, this will be the last time that we'll see the Kick Saubers in real life F1. Whether or not that's going to be the situation in Legacy Division is another question. Gergo up in P10 trying to defend here from Wards, a man that could be on the receiving end of potentially 20 seconds worth of penalties, so he has a point to prove. Is he going to send it down the inside? He's certainly looking for it down the inside of this next corner. Might have nudged Gergo out slightly wide. Gergo trying to fight it back though here, the QRT man against RSC, and it looks like actually the Williams is going to come out on top. Great racing and great defending from Gergo.
Oh no, Dan's got a penalty, and that was coming into the pit lane. It tends to do that in Abu Dhabi. Get that clipped up and get that race director. And of course, if he had 2 warnings already, it might well be difficult to get that one removed. Unfortunate scenes there for Dan, but at least it's not a speeding penalty. That would have been a much worse case scenario. Gergo is also in on the end of lap 10. A few in the live chat suggesting those that pit on lap 7, which was Lars Kramer and Schumacher, could have a hard time in getting to the end. I think Lars Kramer will take the lead of this race quite comfortably. Schumacher will join him up there. But again, is it worth it for the risk of the puncture when you're in that P3 race?
Yeah, a gap of 20.9 seconds at the moment from Lars Kramer to Silo at the moment, and he is gaining at a rapid rate of knots. So it's just a 10th in one corner alone here for the man at Ventauri. Of course, wants to try and capitalise on a decent performance if they can. Of course, try and put some pressure on the McLaren Mercedes outfit. But of course, FRT Dan just tucked him behind with that 3-second penalty. Could cause a few headaches for the man on his own. It's just a matter of whether Quantum or not will find himself in a pretty lowly position. At the moment, he's actually only 14 seconds in front of Lars Kramer, and that will see him fall potentially as far down as P17, P18, sorry, rather, at the moment. So we'll see what happens with Quantum now diving into the pit lane, as is Starla as well for TF10 team. Franek also doing exactly the same thing as is Kevin Zunberg, but once again, Silo and Nico staying out a little bit longer.
Yeah, they can afford to now that they built up that rather large gap to P3 and onwards. They'll work a little bit easier towards the end of the race, knowing that they can maintain a really solid pace on the medium tyres at the moment. It'll be dropping less and less time as the wear gets more significant. And you've got to credit Nico, actually, because when others have dropped off, such as the FRT duo, he's just stayed within that half a second range of Silo all race long. Might have been a different story with Alex Lofer involved. He still is in this race, but yeah, certainly what a performance from these two so far. Just the class of the field, Mercedes and Red Bull.
And one making a further point here that I said it'd be around about P17, P18 for Quantum. Sorry, make that the foot of the table. P19 of the remaining drivers. He is now at the back of the field, but of course on those fresher, hard tyres, which goes to show this undercut is extremely powerful indeed. Right in the middle of that one, though, is Bobberts. He's on a medium tyre that he started on. He still needs to commit to his pit stop, but of course he is, well, he's hemorrhaging time hand over fist on a set of tyres which are now looking increasingly grained, especially on that front right tyre, as Claudio is making it a race from bad to worse at the moment for AMR Esports, as we finally have Silo and Nico in for their pit lane as well. You've seen something.
Oh, Silo locked the rears coming into the pit lane. I mean, he was millimetres away from taking off either the front wing or front left tyre on the actual pit wall itself. You can see where it just kind of pops out there on the left-hand side. He almost hit that. I'm amazed he didn't, actually. Such an unusual little incident there for Silo, but he keeps the lead as he slowed down well below the 50-mile-an-hour threshold. He does come out still in front of that Red Bull, so no harm done. As for where they come out in this race, of course, Lars Kramer in the net lead of this one. FRT Dan is your net second place with that 3-second time penalty. Silo and Nico have pit into the perfect gap. They already will have DRS on the next straight.
Of course, Lars Kramer, 5-lap old hard tyres that will start to age over the next 10 or so laps. No issue as of there, as FRT Dan getting into his scrap with Lars Kramer, going down the back straight, of course, heading through into turn 7. You'll want to see them get the traction out of the corner, and Dan has seen it. Both have got DRS of the back of each other. Of course, Lars Kramer off of Alex Loffer. We'll see if he does go for the dive, but down the inside he might have to go here, but he's good around the outside. It's a very late break around there. Is it switchback going through turn number 9? The gap is opening up there, and that is a perfect gap there, and actually it looks like the Red Bull could be boxed in. It's going to be a switchback, and FRT is going for it with Dan down the inside then of turn number 12, looking very strong indeed. They continue going side by side. Off the track they will go, and the Lars Kramer is absolutely, he's putting all of his elbows and everything out to try and defend that position. Of course, remember, Ventari and FRT are in their own scrap for P3 in the championship, and Lars Kramer has a point to prove, but will the stewards think dimly over the fact that he was forced off of the track?
Alex Lofer gets out of the way, though, comes into the pit lane there, and, well, Dan had to bide his time there because Lars Kramer could have launched a very similar attack on Alex. So if Dan went down the inside, and he did, it could well have been a 3-into-1 situation. Fortunately, it wasn't. He's got to think about Silo behind him. That's a big mistake from FRT Dan. Just loses the car, I think, on entry. Silo slips up his inside. Could ill afford to do that, really, because now will be pounced upon, you'd think, by some of the cars behind. Lars Kramer, no DRS, can only wave everybody on through, including his teammates. And now Lars is going to be the Red Bull that, well, ironically, is going to try and hold cars up here.
I'm going to be honest with you here as well. I think Dan actually probably timed that to perfection because he knew he didn't have any ERS available at his disposal. So he wanted to give that position up, knowing that he'd take P2 right back out of the hands. If that is the case, that is very clever. Nastala getting into a little bit of wheel banging there with Lars Kramer, now relegated to P5. Is the man on now 6-lap old hard tyres, 7 laps when he comes across the line. FRT Dan very close to the back of Silo, 0.5 of a second, half a second, separating the pair of them. But with that 3-second time penalty looming large over the McLaren, that could be fairly critical. Quantum only in P13, by the way, so as it stands, Ventari are going to be earning big time off of the back of FRT, but will it be enough?
Yeah, absolutely. This story of the race so far, it's the story of how this championship is going to finish. It's lap 15 of 29, halfway through already, and of course we run the same number of laps that we used to when we had the chicane and the tighter Sector 3. And indeed, well, the chicane that they're coming up to now, that's still there on the left-hand side. It's now just a wide open turn 5 as they come through for the 15th time in this race. Schumacher is also going to be a car trying to hold drivers up here, but I think Franek is about to initiate a move. Nico could be doing the same on FRT Dan. Here he goes down the inside at the turn 6 and 7 chicane. Dan has no response to that through the right-hander. Can only watch him on through as the battle for the race lead is as it was then. Silo versus Nico.
Yeah, critical here now as well. The gap between FRT and Ventari now is 10 points in this championship for P3 overall. Lars Kramer really could do with getting this move done on a Starla, closing down that gap further. And of course, FRT Dan has to serve a 5-second penalty after all of this as well. Sorry, 3-second penalty rather after all of this as well, which could be extremely critical in this championship for FRT. Quantum has got to get a shift on, and he's got to try and damage limitate.
Yeah, he does indeed. Going to say something. Yeah, Kevin Zumberg there overtaking Schumacher. That's again another swap between teammates, and likewise Schumacher. That's it. I was going to say that they need a safety car in this race. I was like, what's in common between Lars and Schumacher? Yes, they are on tyres that probably can't make it to the end. And of course, they've gained that track position through the undercut. Now, of course, everybody gets another free pit stop if there was a safety car to come out. So, yeah, they would need one to not only maintain track position, but have a comfortable chance of getting to the end of this race, if that's what people in our live chat are suggesting. Looking at the front of the field, Nico for the first time has dropped outside that 1 second window. He's locked up as well coming into turn 6. This could be the end of his run with DRS, and it is indeed. So Silo now, you'd have to think, mode push, get away.
The mode push, certainly get away, is what Joseph is saying, while Astala is getting this move done on FRT. Dan relegating Dan potentially to P4 overall. They'll continue to go side by side through here, but as it stands so far, it looks like Dan is going to lose his position, and he has lost his position. Is Dan going to fight back for it? He's not. He's staying in P4, and that now brings the gap even further to 5 points in this championship. And here's food for thought. Lars Kramer, if he gets up to P4, Ventauri will be P3 at the end of this championship.
Absolutely. This is looking a precarious position for FRT, and it would be an absolute statement from Ventauri, who again have only lost points to FRT throughout the second half of this season. I can't think of the last time Ventauri actually outscored FRT. I want to say it was actually Silverstone. Yeah, they got 5th and 12th compared to FRT's 8th and 11th. So a run of 6 races it would be. And yeah, it's the perfect time to do it. They have truly shown up here this evening, but it all now relies on that Lars Kramer strategy. Will it hold up? Will they get the fortune that they need? Quantum, quite an astonishing downfall really, isn't it, from where he qualified to where he is now in this race without any real explanation. I think FRT have just got the timing of their pit stop wrong, and Quantum has not had the pace to recover. He only fell backwards in that first stint. We've got a car off Schumacher. Why is he always perpendicular to the track? I have no idea what happened there, but again, thank goodness for ghosting, because that could have been a very nasty incident indeed if Quantum tries to slide up the inside of TF10 Lucas. Can't afford to hit that Aston Martin, and he does slide through. Oh, there's a tap though, and the Aston Martin is sent into a spin. Don't think that was actually Quantum's fault.
Yeah, could be questions on that one, but 4th and 11th now. 4th and 10th rather, sorry, for FRT puts them on 354. Ventauri currently 2nd and 5th puts them on 346. That the 3-second penalty that's on Dan's name as it stands so far will not matter, because Lars Kramer's now 3.4. He's losing time hand over fist out there at the moment. Meanwhile, at the moment, you've got a move here for AMR, who have managed to get at least one driver now into the points here, with Alex Loffer down in P17. Claudio now up to P40 and allows them to climb to 264. But the gap at the moment is 8 points separating P3 and P4. That is very, very close.
Yeah, I didn't think this would be much of a battle actually coming into this one. I thought FRT would probably get away with a poor race, but they're not. And that's the key thing at the moment. With Schumacher, I don't think there was any damage. I think he has just come in because he lost all those positions and would only lose more on that set of tyres. He's come in for his 2nd pit stop, and now he can comfortably get to the end on that set of hard tyres. But down the inside goes Kevin Zumberg, and he's going to hit the side of the Red Bull. He takes a penalty for actually cutting the track there, and that would be an illegal overtake, seeing as he's kept the position. Did Lars Kramer move across there too soon, or was Kevin Zumberg being really ambitious with that overtake?
Yeah, and this is the situation for Lars Kramer now. His tyres are really starting to show their age, and in fact there's actually a little bit of blistering, I think, on the front right tyre as well, which is only going to harm his performance out there at the moment. He's now down to P7, and the gap has risen once again to 14 points in that battle for P3, but of course that could end up changing even further, because I think actually now Quantum's up to 9th place, so now make that gap 16.
Yeah, opening up again, and that's exactly the music that FRT will take to their ears at this moment in time. And obviously Quantum can see Lars Kramer up the road. That's going to be quite a key overtake in this one to maybe finally cement that P3 in the championship when it has been looking a little bit precarious. Just a reminder of what the teams are playing for here this evening. Of course, there is financial incentive in the Legacy Division. SCI have already secured that £450. ET8 have secured £250. Third place, whichever team that is, will get 150. Fourth will get 100, and then the fifth place team will get 50. They are all of our paid positions in the Legacy Division, and so all three of those from third, fourth and fifth still up for grabs.
Oh, and remember, of course, P3 in the standings auto qualify for P7 as well. So it's not just about the money, but it's also about which drivers are going to come to the field. And with Legacy Division being a real proving ground for those out there, if FRT finish in P3 with a guaranteed spot in season 7 of WR Legacy Division, that could bring a sea of drivers to the field. So keep an eye out on that one, as Lars Kramer is in the pit for his second stop of this race. Those hard tyres just not able to go the distance, and that might just secure Ventari's fate and may have to requalify for season 7.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand that when you go into the pit lane in a one-stop race with a 3-lap undercut, you know for a fact those tyres are going to struggle to make it to the end. Yeah, I can never explain it. Ventari have done this, I think, once too many times this season, where they've just thrown away points through strategy that doesn't ever come through. So, yeah, ponder that one as food for thought again this evening. But they had to take a risk tonight, and I understand that. If there was a safety car, I'd be praising them as heroes like we were with some teams last week, but it just doesn't happen in every race. It's not this evening. Lars Kramer has got to make moves, and he's got to find 9 seconds for the next car for a start.
Well, as it stands, I remember at one point there were only 4 points separating FRT and Ventari. The gap is now 30 as a result of this one, and that will put FRT firmly in the grasp of that auto-qualifying spot of P3 overall in this championship. Still very much, though, open for interpretation. I'll let you guys decide on who you think your favourite is going to be for next season. One thing is for certain, as it stands so far, ET8, FRT and of course SCI will be carrying through into a respective season 7. You know, gives us an opportunity while there's a little bit of a lull in racing, although it is pretty close with Quantum closing down up on Azim. Situation report here, Joseph. SCI obviously are the trendsetters of this particular esports sphere. They know what they're doing. They're going to want to try and make it 4 in a row. Are they going to try and make it 4 in a row, or are ET8 going to finally shake off the Achilles heel that is this championship and go for it and take their first?
Well, SCI have already made roster improvements going into next season by welcoming David to the team this week, the ex-FRT driver. And of course, that was always going to be a little bit of a challenge, actually, for FRT. He perhaps knew he was going to go, but going into this final round without him as an option was always bound to cause a 1 or 2 problems. Astala has got past Nico for P2 just on the subject of that, but I've yet to see a key ET8 signing yet. I've not seen quite that statement that SCI have made, and of course it's a little bit more difficult for them to do so, having only been the runners-up. But yeah, time will tell with ET8. There's a long winter period to come. Still a lot to be decided in terms of whether the Legacy Division comes back for a 7th season on F1 25. But you know, SCI, they're not losing anybody. They're only strengthening. It can only be a win for them at this point.
It's a weird situation, isn't it, when you think about it in the long term, because the drivers are going out there and, they're seeing the championship and they're seeing ET8 on 648 points. You're seeing SCI on 794. Of course, drivers are going to look at ET8 and going to think, that's a challenge. That's a challenge for us to potentially get into the 700s. It's a challenge for us to potentially get into a championship fight rather than going to SCI and knowing that the championship is pretty much all wrapped up. So people may look at ET8 as a potential, project, if you will, as we've just seen Seeb getting past Gergo for P9. They may consider the likes of ET8 as a little project, as an opportunity to potentially take a first title. But the fact is, when you're back-to-back runners-up, you start to question the entire prospect of that particular team. And that ends up making teams like FRT a much more interesting prospect for drivers. And that may be something ET8 is going to have to contend with going into a prospective Season 7.
Yeah, indeed. ET8, at this point, it's the team you want to join if you can't join SCI. I mean, it's plain sailing. They're comfortably second best in this championship, and will come back next season. And as it stands, probably be second best. So it is a real proving ground and a real still attractive team for drivers. And I'm sure we'll see a lot of moves, from the likes of maybe IRT, maybe TF10, up in towards ET8 as that potential championship contender. So we'll see as we head in towards the winter months. Nico is trying to fight back on Astala. They know perhaps their race for P3 is done here this season, and they will have to come back and qualify next year as well. But if there's one thing that Ventari don't have a shortage of, it's good qualifiers. They're always there or thereabouts in Q3. It's just the racing and the strategy that often lets them down.
Yes, and one thing is for certain is we just see that move get done going through into turn number 9 as Nico does get promoted now up to P2, which will then close that gap down from 30 points to another extra 5 points, to 25 points. Rather, no, I think that actually makes it 30 points the difference now, because Ventari up to P2, 4th and 8th respectively, would have been a 35-point gap. It is now exactly a 30-point gap for Ventari, which is just not enough, is it, at the end of the day, to automatically qualify, and you're going to have to find your inroads later down the line. So, lap 24 of 29, 5 laps to go. Silo now 3.5 second gap between him and Nico. And speaking of sort of larger gaps, you've got FRT Dan. He has a 3-second time penalty, of course, after that track extension issue going into the pit lane. He has extended his gap against Franek, now 3.8. So he's still able to hold on to P4, but only just.
Just looking at Dan's warnings as well, that was a third warning that he got on the pit entry, and that's usually glitched. It can just happen randomly to anybody, so the game thinks you've exceeded the track. He's got no more since, so even if he does actually lose that second cushion he's got at the moment, he has grounds to appeal, providing he doesn't exceed again. So that's the key thing to look out for here. It's another Sauber off the track at turn 6 and 7. Rejoins safely, he does, alongside TF10 Wards. Didn't quite catch that. Yeah,
big tank slapper. Just caught it on board. We were on board with Quantum when that happened. That's actually promoted Quantum up to P7 as a result of that one. But Kevin Zunberg lighting the rears up. Oh my goodness me. Is that Lucas? Yes, he's off his track. Going for the dive bomb. And it just wasn't going to work for the TF10 man. He just caught himself out braking. And he's now down to P15.
Just watching it back here, because again, I didn't quite catch that one. It was in the background, wasn't it, of that?
Alex Loffer, I believe.
Yeah, there you go. Just ran a little bit too wide at the apex of turn 9. It's the real pinch point around this circuit, and just another example of it. Nico back up into P2, as we've discussed already. Dan did have a little bit more of a cushion momentarily, but Franek now with a bit more comfort. Azem chasing him down as well from the back of the grid. Really impressive performance on his side of the garage at ET8, it must be said. Danny's going to start to feel a little bit more nervous about that penalty. It might well stray him in towards picking up another warning. Don't count that out just yet. We'll keep an eye on that race director.
Yes, thank you very much, Joseph. Lap 25 of 29, so 3.5 laps to go in this race. Gap 3.3 between Dan and Franek. Remember that 3-second penalty is now a 3.1 second penalty. Franek is taking a real chunk of time at the moment out of Dan. And I think that's causing Dan to just start putting a little bit of a push, and now he's actually starting to hemorrhage his ERS pace and his ERS energy rather, and that is just causing Dan to lose time on these straights here, which is of course only going to benefit Franek in the longer run. Gap though increasing to 3.5 as I've said it in P6, but Quantum looking to get that overtake done as quickly as he possibly can to continue stretching the legs on that gap between them and Ventauri overall as they start their 26th tour of this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Yeah, 4 more to go. It's not been a thriller, sorry folks, in terms of how season finales go, but it's just one of those circuits, isn't it? Abu Dhabi, very short start-finish straight, boring 90-degree left-hander at turn 1. Usually you see a lot of single file around here, and we are seeing that this evening. Regardless, we hope you've enjoyed the season. It feels like we're outroing the season already, but we kind of know how our 3rd, 4th and 5th place teams look at this stage, so just encourage you all to enjoy the final few tours of this circuit.
Yeah, we can round off with a smile, can't we, at the end of this one, that this race hasn't offered anything extraordinary, to be honest with you, in terms of situations that may occur, because the bottom line is that this situation has offered the drivers plenty of opportunities, ample opportunities to just keep it clean and just round it off with a really, really nice race result. Some of these teams we would expect to be back in the title hunt, or rather this next season of WOR Legacy Division. I'm thinking the likes of Ventauri should be able to make it. TF10, if they don't qualify again, it would be a big shocker. But one thing we do know is, as it stands so far, the McLaren Mercedes outfit and Future Racing Team will automatically qualify for the next season of Legacy Division alongside ET8 and, of course, our 4-time world champions, 3-time world champions, rather, sorry, in SCI. And there may be a little bit of a slip of the tongue there, because 4 times could be what we expect from Team Shizou, the Shizou Cedar Igniters. They've been absolutely on it in the esports sphere, and when teams have folded, they have just excelled.
I've already prepared next season's hashtag. I think I did inevitable with the 3 for Shizou in it. Next season, Shizou with the 4 as the A could be their target, but that's just me thinking with a social media head on and not objectively saying, look, that's them winning the title again. That is the most likely outcome. Bobbits is into the pit lane for the final time in his F1 competitive racing career. He still loves the Forza stuff.
Good lap.
And I know he'll keep doing it, but he's going for the fastest lap just to try and take some pride in his final race, and good on him for that. Yeah,
good on him for that one as well. We'll obviously get a little bit of coverage of Boverts before the end of this race, and continue to follow what is a man who's been really battling, as in fact, speaking of battling, Franek and Azim getting into their own little battle here. This is critical for IRT. Azim doesn't have anything to prove here for ETA, but IRT want to try and capitalise on their championship hopes in for P5, P6 in the standings. Here he comes around the outside, then he's going to have to defend around the outside, Will Franek, but it looks like Azim's got to get the tyre hooking around this corner here, which could invite Quantum into the mix as well as we go off board, and the move is officially done. Azim up to P5, Franek in P6 with Sieve in P8, but Quantum is smelling a little bit of blood. Penultimate lap of this race in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, it is indeed. I think that was 1-1 there on the wheel banging once at turn 9, and then they did so again through turn 12 as Franek came back up his inside. Really good battle there to round off the season. It might not be over, as Franek will have another couple of opportunities with DRS. Quantum, though, sniffing a potential P5 finish. Be ambitious. If these two keep battling as they were just then, there might well be an opening, and that would be some recovery. Excuse me, it feels like he's only gone backwards in this race, but finally he's looking forwards. He's looking for an overtake here as Franek is derating on the battery, brakes around the outside, going into turn 6, and Franek got his braking all wrong as he's clattered into the rear left tyre of Azem. So Quantum, opportunistic, he's up into P6, and it'll be him trying to take the reins on the final lap to go for P5.
Yeah, P5 is what he's going to be looking for here. What a great result this will be on the inverse strategy as well. 2-lap younger tyre as well in comparison here for Quantum on 16 lap, but Azim is on a younger tyre of 15 laps, so this is where It's all going to be fairly critical in for Quantum to look after his tyres, as we've still got intense battling happening with guess who? Ward's getting in a strong battle with IRT. IRT in their own close battle, 20 points the difference between them and RSC, but RSC Wards has managed to get past Seed here. That's 7th and 9th place respectively now for the OG team themselves as we start the final lap of this race. And what will no doubt end up being, as it looks like Galt has also decided to pit for a set of soft tyres because he wants to try and get the fastest lap on this one. Bobberts is trying to get the fastest lap if he can help it. He's just approaching what I believe to be turn 9 at the moment. He's just tucked in behind Galt on a set of soft tyres, who's trying to go for fastest lap as well. Oh, don't take it away from him, Galt. Come on. QRT looking like they're going to spoil the party for SCI. Either way, Silo, look at this. The gap is 5 seconds between him and Nico. He's just managed his own race pace. It's been absolutely blistering from them. There's still battling happening in the midfield at the moment here. Sector 1 yellow flags waved. It looks like Lucas has gone for a spin at the Aston Martin outfit, and not particularly strong for them as Bobberts gets that fastest lap of this race. But of course Galt will be trying to chase for it. Lars Kramer losing time, hand over fist, going side by side with the ET8 driver of Ryderdal. They continue to bang wheels here. This is so critical between them at the moment as well. It's so intense between them here as Ventauri gets that move done up to P13. There's still battling happening in the midfield, but we've got to round it off here at the final corner. It's lap 29 of 29, and he's just solidifying, epitomising what has been for SCI as Silo takes the victory here tonight in Abu Dhabi. Ventauri finished second with Nico. Astalo will finish third. FRT Dan has a 3-second penalty. It could get rescinded, but as it stands, he'll finish P4 over the line, but he'll crash down to P6, P7, P8 overall in this one as well. But I think it's fairly all in fair warn as a result of this one that they will be automatic qualifiers for Season 7, and FRT will be very happy indeed.
Yeah, many congratulations to FRT. That's P3 in the standings secured and 150 quid in probably Noah's back pocket for some fine dining in London, I should take it. But regardless, another fantastic season. Fantastic final lap in the end. Alex Lofer, Kevin Zumberg, and I think it was Sieb all involved in that battle. There might well be grounds for a penalty in there. And I think, yeah, Kevin Zumberg got the worst of it, unfortunately, with a bit of a punt at turn 12. So we'll keep tabs on that one. And of course, Ryderdal and Lars on the final lap. Ryderdal was turning left throughout the entirety of that second straight. He was trying to show Lars the Armco barrier, and they were almost arm wrestling each other down that entire straight, just to add comment on the final lap. But yep, Silo, job done, brilliant race. And of course, the minute that Alex Lofer was out of this one, he never really looked like losing that lead, did he? Despite a phenomenal effort from Nico.
And we will just, if you don't mind, go off of the thing, because we're waiting for one of the Aston Martins to finish this route. We're just actually following this man right here. It's Bobberts. What a career, my friend. You have had an absolute belter of a season that's been transversing so many game cycles in Formula 1, and one thing is for certain, I will say on record, what a pleasure it has been to commentate over your races, and I certainly can't wait to continue commentating alongside you as well for the foreseeable future. Bobberts, thank you very much for everything you have brought to our little Formula 1 sphere. That will wrap it all up for WOR Legacy Division in season number 6. And of course, who else but SCI have come on the top step of this podium to round off what has been an absolutely fabulous championship and what has been ultimately a fabulous season of racing. Silo finishes at the top step of this podium from Nico, and Astala rounding up a back-to-back podium for TF10 team. They've got something to prove next season. ET8 Azim 20th to 4th. What an effort from ET8. It goes to show they've got the pace to do it. They've just got to believe, and maybe next season could be their calling. They automatically qualify alongside these. FRT, their highest position in WR Legacy Division. They finished third overall with a 5th and an 8th place respectively from Quantum and Dan. Split, of course, with Wards, who may end up receiving that time penalty, of course, for those impediments, and then Franek for IRT. What an effort it's been from them, and Sieb as well, rounding out top 10. And a great recovery drive, by the way, from Alex Loffer. After disconnecting lap 3 of this race, he still finishes in the top 10 in P9. Down at the back, of course, Lars Riederdal, Kevin Zunberg, Claudio Schumacher, Gergo. Galt, in the end, does take the fastest lap out of the hands of Bobberts, which is frustrating to say the least. Lucas finishes in P19, and of course, none other than Raphael finished at the bottom of the field after DNFing, choosing to retire from this race. Let's take a quick look at the calendar. It's done. We're finished. That's it. Abu Dhabi, December 10, is our final race of the season. After this 15-round championship, we round it off with SCI as our champions. Of course, ET8 finishing in second, and P3 confirmation for FRT in the Future Racing Team. Joseph, how do you wrap that one up?
What a season, eh? A 7-win season for SCI, winning almost half of the races, our deserved champions. As you rightly say with ET8, keep at it. You know, it's so tough, constantly finishing runner-up in a championship. You just can't seem to get over the line in, but, you know, they will be back and they will be fighting on the front foot, no doubt about it. As for next year, I don't know. We'll see what the Season 7 is going to bring to us. We have some dates in mind. Well, Luke has some dates in mind, but you know, what gimmicks are we going to put in? What is going to try and be the, you know, that Mario power-up that dethrones potentially SCI? We'll see. Looking forward to it, though, regardless.
Yeah, absolute belter of a season, no doubt coming up very soon. Keep an eye out, of course, over on our social media at WR League over on X. And what has been an absolutely fantabulous season of racing, we will head through to Season 7 with our known 3 teams now. SCI as champions, looking to get their 4th in a row. Of course, ET8 looking to get their first and shake off the Achilles heel. And Future Racing Team, are they the upcoming stars potentially later down the line? We'll have to see in Season 7. From myself, from Joseph, from Luke, and from the rest of the team at WR Legacy Division, thank you very much for watching for the last 15 weeks, and we will see you next time in WR Legacy for no doubt what will be another exciting championship. Take care. Ta-ra.